Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. The senators and all in attendance will please stand and be led in prayer by the Honorable R. Cray Deeds, 25th Senatorial District. Following the prayer, all will please remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Tara H. Perkinson, Chief Deputy Clerk, Senate Clerk's Office.
Pray with me, please. Our Heavenly Father, we are in a period of great consequence. Please bring our country together and bless its leaders. Give us a sense of hope and revival and a chance to do your will and bring greater understanding and reconciliation to your people. We ask that you watch over us and help us to understand that whatever power each of us has is derived from the people we represent. Help us remember that even though we come to this place from 40 different points of view in 40 different places, we are elected to work together, that we are much stronger as one than as 40. Help us look for solutions instead of spotlights. Help us to work together to achieve hope and a better life and a path forward for the people we represent. Please bless richly those who enable us to do this great work, our aides, the staffs of our clerk's office, the staff of the Finance Committee, and Legislative Services. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will please record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
Senate Journal for Thursday, January 21st, 2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 5.
Ayes 33, noes 5. The reading of the journal is waived. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Nice
Good afternoon,
to see you
Senator.
this morning. Mr. President, I respectfully move that the rules of the Senate be suspended condition. You don't want to do that?
I think the only senator who would call in is not going to call in today.
Okay.
So we don't need to suspend the rules. All right. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw. Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 4.
Ayes 34, noes 4. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, would the journal please reflect that the senator from Fauquier is away on pressing personal business?
Thank the Senator. The journal will so reflect. Resolutions, petitions, and bills are now in order. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Is there any other business to come before the Senate in the morning hour? I have a note that we have nurses from UVA who are watching us here today, so I just wanted to say hello to them. And we have a lot of great nurse advocates here, so thank you all for tuning into today's session. And without any additional business in the morning hour, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Friday, January 22nd, 2021. Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on third reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate bills on third reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 1 through 3, Senate Bill 1130 through 1255, be placed on their final passage in a block, and any senator desiring to move a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 1 through 3, Senate Bill 1130 through Senate Bill 1255, be placed upon their final passage in the block, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1130, Senate Bill 1134, Senate Bill 1145, Senate Bill 1155, Senate Bill 1156, Senate Bill 1255.
Mr. President.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Can Senate Bill 1255 please come out of the block?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1255 will be removed from the block. The question is, shall the bills in the block pass? That is, all bills except for Senate Bill 1255. All in favor of passage of the bills will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Senate Bill 1255.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Bill 1255 pass. And speaking of the motion.
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is the State Corporation Commission requesting in times of an emergency the ability for them to waive some of their rules and regulations. We had a number of agents, 10 agents in Virginia Beach that were trying to get signed up. No testing centers were available, so they couldn't issue them even a conditional permit to operate insurance. It's under someone who had already had a license. Also, we had a situation where a small agent office unfortunately passed away, and normally they would give their next of kin or their spouse the opportunity to receive payments and just to continue with the business in order to posture it for sale or closure. They weren't even able to do that. So these were just circumstances unimagined before a pandemic, and the State Corporations Commission's opportunity to address those. So I hope that it'll be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1255? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1255 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. Senate Bill 1255 passes.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 1122, a bill relating to habitual offenders repeal.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. With regard to Senate Bill 1122, and for the members of the body, there is an amendment to that bill, which is now on your desk. But in order for us to do that properly, I'm going to ask that the bill go by for the day, and we'll take it up on Monday. So everybody keep your orange sheet on this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Without objection, Senate Bill 1122 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1142, a bill relating to persons who may celebrate rites of marriage, members of the General Assembly.
Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the bill.
Senator, has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 1142 would simply allow current members of the General Assembly in the House and the Senate, and with Senator Evans' amendment, the governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general to perform marriage rites in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Currently, almost anybody can do this, but there's a process that has to go before the circuit court. There has to be a bond paid. And I know that I've been asked at least 4 times to perform weddings. I know that Senator Evans has gotten practice doing these as well. So this would just allow current members of the General Assembly and the statewide elected officials that are part of the General Assembly to perform marriage rites. I hope the body will pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1142? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1142 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 4, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 33, noes 4, Rule 36-1. Senate Bill 1142 passes.
Senate Bill 1202, a bill relating to uninsured and underinsured motorist insurance policies, bad faith.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass and speak to the measure.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, if you read the text of this bill, it's very complicated, but the idea is very simple, and that is if you have an uninsured motorist policy and you file a suit against your own insurance company on a claim, and you have the evidence of the damages and they fail to cover the claim in good faith, they fail to deal with you in good faith, you can bring a cause of action just the same as you could if you were in an accident with a third party and their insurance company failed to cover your claim in good faith. This has been a loophole in the law for years. We are finally leveling the playing field. To talk about why this is an important issue, I think it's easiest for me to give an example. I represented a woman, a constituent, also went to my church, who was in an auto accident in 2018. We filed a personal injury action. The driver had very little insurance, so that was useless. She had significant bills, significant disability, and we couldn't get a trial date because of COVID. There were only 80 civil jury trials last year in Virginia, 80, out of probably 10,000 civil claims filed. And I asked the insurance company, I said, can we get in front of a judge? Can we go to an arbitrator? They're like, no, we want a jury. And obviously the whole idea was to drag this process out as long as possible. Unfortunately, this woman needed the money. And so as a result, we ended up settling. So this is not a case we did settle. But the point is that if you allow insurance companies to drag on cases indefinitely, consumers will be the loser. So this just simply puts the same check on insurance companies for underinsurance as we have for ordinary insurance, and therefore I would ask you to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1202? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1202 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 9.
Ayes 29, noes 9. Senate Bill 1202 passes.
Senate Bill 1211, a bill relating to establishment of the Public Safety Trust Fund.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, move that Senate Bill 1211 pass. And by way of explanation,
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, this is the same bill we had last year. It creates what is known as a Public Safety Trust Fund, where $4 on a registration fee of every vehicle will go into the fund, and that money will be used for the Virginia State Police that desperately needs the money. It raised about $28.5 million for the Virginia State Police. It's last year we passed it. Unfortunately, it didn't get to the House. The House had a different view of things, as I recall. But this is extremely important for the state police. Few figures on this. The state police is about 25 to 27% down, and it's getting worse. They're losing state police officers, even though they're extremely well trained, simply because of a lack of pay. They're not getting adequate and equal and proper pay. So please, if you believe in the state police, believe the importance of the state police to protect us all, please vote for this bill, Senate Bill 1211. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. What purpose senator from Bedford? Senator Newman, rise.
Mr. President, speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I have been a supporter of the state police as long as I've been here. My budget amendments and votes, I think, show that. Mr. President, I've spent a good bit of time in the last year meeting with the state police, talking to them about what is, I think, even a more dire problem than the senator from Roanoke indicated. We have a massive morale problem within the state police. They are leaving us hand over fist, and they're doing it because they do not believe that Richmond supports them. They are deeply concerned about legislation that they think is putting them in danger. Mr. President, I know that this bill probably will raise something like $29 million. After you take out the administrative costs, it's 6 or 7% increase. I think this General Assembly has a responsibility to take care of our Capitol Police, our state police, and also our sheriff's deputies. But, Mr. President, I don't think this is the right way to do it. Just last year, we had an opportunity under a bill that the senator from Roanoke and the additional senator had that related to transportation, and we actually increased this fee, but then we recognized the negative impact it would have on Virginians, and we actually backed it up, went the other direction. We're going in the wrong direction here. This is a $29 million obligation. I think the Senate Finance Committee, we've been fairly generous with them in the past. We should be more generous with them in the future, but I don't think this is the way to do it, and I do not believe it's going to curb the numbers that were mentioned here one bit. I think in the end, you're going to have a very difficult time retaining officers. They're going to be retiring at record numbers. And also, it's going to be very difficult to recruit. And when they do, they're probably going to be recruiting from lower law enforcement agencies. So while I'm very much in favor of supporting our state police, I'm not in favor of this bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake? Senator Cosgrove, rise.
Speak to the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this would be unusual for me. I voted for this bill last year, and I'm going to vote for this bill again this year, and let me tell you why. I agree with the gentleman from Bedford that it should be the responsibility of the money committees in the General Assembly to do this out of our general fund. But they're not doing it. They didn't do it when the Republicans were in charge, and they didn't do it now that the Democrats are in charge. I hope that those of you who remember my friend Bill Carrico remember his sheepdog analogy. You know what? You never think about the dog until you need him. Well, let me tell you. I was in a little fender bender a couple of weeks ago on Interstate 64. Wasn't my fault. And finally, a state trooper showed up, and I got to talking to him. We had one Virginia state trooper, one, that was solely in charge of patrolling between the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel and Williamsburg, both sides. Just before he came to see me, he was trying to eat lunch, and there was a sexual assault. He had to take care of that. A call came in, because of this fender bender. One officer, one trooper. And I said, well, what's really the holdup? He said, well, number one, the attitude towards police and law enforcement in the country right now, and also the pay. I just have to work overtime. I have to find another job so I can support my wife and 2 kids. So, Mr. President, while I don't like the idea of raising the fee $4, we got to do something. We talk about it a lot, but it's time to do something. So please pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
Speak in favor of the bill.
Senator's the floor.
While there may be a morale problem as a result of some of these big mouths with the defund the police in the last 10 or 11 months, this has been a problem for several years. And I remember having a discussion, I think it was with Wayne Huggins, who is their lobbyist and formerly head of the state police, around 2016 when they're supposed to be at 1,800, they were at 1,500, down 300. And he told me, make no mistake about it, it's money. He didn't mention anything else, it's money. And, we hear people talking in here all the time about saying, I support the state police, I support the state police. Well, here's your chance. And this will go a long way to help them. Will it solve all the problems? No, it won't. But it'll solve a good bit of them. They're losing people who are going to, like, Fairfax County and other police forces that pay more. Tell me that's not about money, because the local police are hearing the same thing from some of the people that want us to cut money to various police forces around the state. So $4 a year comes to about 34 cents a month. Big deal. Big deal. Okay. A quarter pounder with cheese at McDonald's is that. So I would hope that we would support this bill. These people need this money. We need to keep good people employed in the Virginia State Police.
For what purpose does the senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden, rise?
Speak to the bill.
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This problem started a long time ago, as I'm told, back in the mid-'90s, when we tried to switch to a merit pay system. And the idea is that the General Assembly was going to provide each agency with X number of percent every year to distribute on the basis of merit. Well, we never funded it. And so the pay compression issue that we now have in the Commonwealth of Virginia is awful. It isn't just money. It's a question of an officer who's been there 7 or 8 years makes the same amount of money as someone who's been there 1 or 2 years. In other words, their experience seems to go unvalued. It's an essential fairness issue. This bill begins to address that, but it's something we have to address throughout the Commonwealth. This compression factor, we've addressed it in a few minor situations, but we have to get back to an idea where we fund our state employees at the front end of the budget to give them their merit increases for their length of service and their satisfactory service, and quit trying to just give everybody a few percentage points at the end of the year. That just doesn't cut it, and we need to change the way we pay our state employees, and this could be a template how the state police are doing this for other agencies to look at. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff, rise?
Mr. President, will the patron rise for a quick question?
Will the senator yield? Senator from Roanoke City? Will you yield for a question?
I'll be happy to yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I too am a huge supporter of our state police, and I believe that we put our priorities and our money in the same place. I think the first thing you should do is separate your needs from your wants, and we need our state police. We need our Capitol Police. With that, I think that we should start with those at the top of the budget and then go down from there. Since that's not happened last year, and I put a lot of bills in last year supporting our police, and I even put one in this year supporting our state police, and our multiple this year. Well, Mr. President, the question I have for the patron is simple. Are you going to guarantee that if we provide this funds to our state police, that their budget will not be reduced in any other area. So in essence, a lockbox, so put the money in for them, but ensure that there's no reduction anywhere else. Now, if you remember what we did with the lottery in schools, we provided the money set up for schools, and then in other places, we'd reduce what the schools were getting. I want to make sure if we're doing a tax increase specifically to help fund our state police, although I disagree with doing it this way, I think it should come out of our budget. I think it should be one of the first things out of our budget because what we're responsible for is the safety and security of our citizens. That's what every elected official is responsible for. But with this, Mr. President, I'd like to see if the gentleman from Roanoke would be willing to put this, in essence, in a lockbox and ensure that we do not reduce our state police in any other category anywhere else.
Senator, has the floor.
Yes, I would answer the senator this way. We've created in this bill a public safety trust fund. It's a trust fund. The $4 registration fee, all of which goes into the public safety trust fund, is dedicated to the benefit of the state police for salaries. And that's it. It cannot be used for anything else. So the answer to the question is yes.
Mr. President, if I may follow up to that question.
Further question, Senator Yield?
Yeah, be happy to.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Mr. President, when we did the same thing with the lottery funds, we set that money aside and said this can only be used for schools. But we did on the other side is we reduced their budgets by an equal amount. I want to ensure that we're not going to reduce their budgets on the other side. And that's the assurance I'm looking for. And, Mr. President, I've not received that yet.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, it's my understanding that's clearly the case. This is additional money. It's not a replacement money at all. And I understand his question. And I think, unless I'm totally wrong, we're not going to reduce the state police. The senator, who's the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, agrees. We're not reducing anything. This is additional money to the state police. It can only be used for the state police for salaries, for income, and for educational programs for the state police. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator.
Mr. President, with that, I'll take the gentleman from Roanoke with his word, on his word, and I will also oversee and look and make sure that the state police's budget is not reduced, hampered, or hindered in any other category because we're providing them an additional $28, $29 million, whatever it is, after administrative fees for salary increases. Thank you very much.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1211? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1211 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 7.
Ayes 31, noes 7. Senate Bill 1211 passes.
Senate Bill 1219, a bill to direct the Bureau of Insurance to review and make recommendations regarding paid family leave.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a very simple bill. It's a Section 1 bill. It does two things. It asks the Bureau of Insurance to sit down and tell us what statutory changes are actually needed so a group paid family leave option can come to the market. Right now, insurance companies do not have the authority to offer a group paid family leave product in Virginia. The bill does a second thing. It requires the Bureau of Insurance to sit down with stakeholders and to examine market factors and come up with suggestions or recommendations on how to encourage more group family leave products. And we actually say in the legislation to consider options up to 12 weeks of paid family leave. And then the bill requires that the recommendations be reported to the respective bodies, their Commerce and Labor Committee in the House and the Senate, and then the Appropriations/Finance Committee in the House and the Senate by November 30th, 2021. That is the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1219? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1219 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 13.
Ayes 24, noes 13. Senate Bill 1219 passes.
Senate Bill 1276, a bill relating to health insurance, essential health benefits, abortion coverage.
Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 1276 removes the ban on abortion coverage for health insurance plans that are offered through the Health Benefits Exchange here in Virginia. Abortion is the only legal medical procedure that is banned under the Health Exchange here, which is due solely to decisions made by this body. I want to talk a little bit about what the bill does not do, because there has been some misinformation, I believe, spread about what the bill does not do. Under federal law, taxpayer money cannot be spent on abortion services. This is true under the Affordable Care Act as well. An executive order signed by President Obama that is still in effect extended Hyde Amendment restrictions to federally subsidized coverage on the Affordable Care Act health exchanges, except in the cases of the limited cases consistent with the Hyde Amendment. The Affordable Care Act also said that for private insurance companies that do offer abortion services or cover abortion services in the exchange, they must segregate any federal money they receive away from funds used for abortion to ensure that federal tax money is not used to cover abortions. Under Virginia's law, private companies can't even offer coverage through a direct plan or through a rider. This bill just removes that restriction, and I ask that we pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1276? For what purpose, Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman, rise?
Mr. President, speak briefly to the bill.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, I think the gentlelady from Richmond is correct. It is complex. I've worked with Senate Finance and the health arena to try to understand this, and money is very, very fungible. And the fact is that there will not be state money that will end up going into this portion of the plan or the premiums, but the federal subsidy of the premiums of a plan that includes abortion services will occur. Now, that's a bit complex, and it gets to it in a difficult way, but I think that's the reason why you have a number of people that are concerned about the intent of the Hyde Amendment, which is that basically there are some of us that believe that on this very controversial item that no tax money should be used in this way, should go down this path. So I agree with the gentlelady. It is very complex. I believe that there are funds that will go into the premium subsidy, and that is the reason why I think you've seen a number of no votes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall Senate Bill 1276 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 17.
Ayes 20, no 17. Senate Bill 1276 passes.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 6 and 7, that's SB 1111, through SB 1280 be advanced to their engrossment and third reading in a block after the adoptions of any amendment thereto. Any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 6 through 7, Senate Bill 1111 through Senate Bill 1280, be engrossed in advance to their third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1111, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. Senate Bill 1112, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with amendments.
Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 1158, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations. Senate Bill 1161, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1280, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed in advance to their third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are engrossed in advance to their third reading.
Regular calendar Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 1355, a bill to allow the withdrawal of a member of the Rapidan Services Authority. The committee substitute has been adopted by the Senate.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that that bill go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1355 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1182, a bill relating to motor vehicle liability insurance coverages, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1097, a bill relating to absentee voting, witness signature not required, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favolo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1194, a bill relating to produce safety sunset, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1199, a bill relating to conservation easements construction, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with amendments, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick point of parliamentary inquiry. Can I have the committee amendments adopted before we take up the floor substitute? Yes, there was.
There's a conflict. Okay. To clarify, Senator, I think the answer is no, because the committee amendments and the floor sub are in conflict.
That's fine. In that case, I'm going to ask that this bill go by for the day.
Thank the senator.
So I can learn more about property law.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1199 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1239, a bill relating to absentee voting, third-party absentee ballot assembly and distribution, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed and moved to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1274, a bill relating to government planning wildlife corridors, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with amendments.
Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1281, a bill relating to elections qualifications of the General Registrar Residency, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with amendments.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning, Senator.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we engross the bill and advance it to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1290, a bill relating to conserved Virginia programs established, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with a substitute.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that Senate Bill 1290 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1291, a bill relating to Virginia Water Protection Permit efficient water use, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with amendments.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on first reading.
Senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all Senate bills on first reading on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 12 through 18, that's Senate Bill 1154 through Senate Bill 1343, that the rules be suspended and the first constitutional readings be dispensed with.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the first reading the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 12 through 18, Senate Bill 1154 through Senate Bill 1343, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I now move that all those bills get passed by the day with the exception of Senate Bill 1445 on page 17.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on second reading go by for the day? That is all bills except for Senate Bill 1445 on page 17. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1445, a bill to facilitate the administration of the COVID-19 vaccine emergency.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe that there's a floor amendment. And
Apparently there's a committee substitute that we will take up first.
thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe there is a floor amendment.
Yes, there is, Senator. Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the reading of the floor amendment be waived.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I thank the senator from Enrico for bringing this important bill. This simply adds to it that any full-time or non-voluntary emergency medical technicians can staff these vaccination clinics. Also speaks to they will be trained in the administration of vaccines. At the request of localities, they can serve in these clinics under the direction of the local medical director. This is our plan on the Virginia Peninsula, Mr. President. We're going to set up clinics at the Colonial Williamsburg Visitor Center, at Christopher Newport, and at the Hampton Convention Center, but for the last several weeks have been wrestling with the health department to get an MOU signed to do this very thing. So we thought we'd make it very clear in this bill that this is the way we'd like to do it in places that it's applicable and acceptable and asked for by the locality. So with that, Mr. President, I move that the floor amendment pass.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that we engross and advance to the third reading this Senate bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we dispense with the third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the third constitutional reading be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 0.
Ayes 36, no 0. The third constitutional reading is dispensed with. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that we pass Senate Bill 1445. I thank all of the members of the Senate for signing on as co-patrons. And I think we all heard from our constituents how important it was to get this vaccine out as quickly as possible. And this is our way of contributing to part of the solution for the state, and that is to mobilize the ready workforce that we have and so many available centers to set up vaccine centers. So, Mr. President, with that, I thank the body and I move that 1445 pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1445? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1445 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. Senate Bill 1445 passes.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on first reading. Oh, I'm sorry. Page 19, uncontested calendar, Senate joint resolutions on second reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all Senate joint resolutions on second reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 19 to 20, that's SJR 298 through SJR 303, be advanced to their engrossment and third reading in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, and any senator desiring to remove a resolution from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall all Senate joint resolutions on second reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 19 through 20, Senate Joint Resolution 298 through Senate Joint Resolution 303, be engrossed in advance to their third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring to remove a resolution from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will read the number of the resolutions.
Senate Joint Resolution 298, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. Senate Joint Resolution 299, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with amendment.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
I move that the resolutions be engrossed and passed to their third reading.
Senator, you want to move the committee amendments?
Move the amendment. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted.
Senate Joint Resolution 300, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. Senate Joint Resolution 301, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. Senate Joint Resolution 302, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. Senate Joint Resolution 303, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Question is, shall the Senate joint resolutions be engrossed in advance to their third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The joint resolutions are engrossed in advance to their third reading.
Regular calendar, Senate Resolution on first reading, Senate Resolution 91.
Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Resolution 91 will go by for the day. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I inquire of the clerk, does that complete the calendar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? For what purpose is the senator from northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks the 48th anniversary of the landmark United States Supreme Court decision Roe v. Wade, which affirms a woman's autonomy over their bodies. Unfortunately, over those past 48 years, it's been painfully obvious that the promise of Roe has never been fully realized, never fully achieved, and safe and legal and affordable access to abortion care is a far from reality for pregnant people in this country and even here in the Commonwealth, especially those people who are of color and those living in rural areas. Much of this inequity and disparity is due to the many medically unnecessary roadblocks put in place to prevent people from exercising their constitutionally protected right to abortion. Thankfully, last year, and just a few minutes ago, we started to repeal some of those onerous and harmful restrictions right here in Virginia. If you ask Virginians if they believe that Roe should be protected and that women should be able to access abortion safely and legally once she's made a decision, 7 out of 10 will say yes. On this notable 48th anniversary, I want those 7 in 10 to know that I pledge to continue to work hard to ensure that all women and those who can become pregnant have the right and the ability to control their reproductive lives, and that I hope that we will continue to work together to solve this challenge. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Senator, it's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I know it's Friday, and in a little less than 3 hours, I expect to be skiing in Nelson County with my son, but I want to make these points, and I will keep them brief. This past Wednesday, we had the pleasure of hearing the country's first ever National Youth Poet Laureate, Amanda Gorman, speak. She's 22 years old, and she delivered a beautiful, eloquent poem during the inauguration of President Biden, "The Hill We Climb." What we learned from her is that words are very powerful. They can heal and they can hurt. Recently, some of the words from my colleague from Chesterfield County have absolutely hurt other individuals. Whether intended or not, they had that consequence. For example, and I'll preface it with saying this, I will always speak on behalf of protecting free speech, but when the words patriot was used to describe those people that made an assault upon the Capitol, it was hurtful to a lot of people. Certainly, some people there were patriots, but clearly others were not. Those people that stormed the Capitol, breached the lines, entered the Capitol, and caused harm and death and hurt were not patriots. Those individuals who were white supremacists are not patriots. Those individuals that wore T-shirts or sweatshirts emblazoned with sayings such as 6 million dead Jews is not enough are clearly not patriots. Accordingly, I would call upon my colleague from Chesterfield County to denounce those individuals and clearly enunciate that they are not patriots. Secondly, some words were used that caused great hurt to a member of one of our members, saying that Senator Louise Lucas participated in a riot was not only false, but it was very hurtful. So I would call upon my colleague to apologize unconditionally for that. The reason I'm doing this now on Friday is that perhaps my colleague may say it today, perhaps she might want to reflect upon it over the weekend. But I thought it important to share those comments with the body today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the point of a personal privilege.
Senator, is the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank the junior senator from Richmond City for his comments, and we've had numerous conversations over the past couple of weeks, and it has come to my attention that I need to clarify some of the events and some of the statements from Wednesday, January the 6th, when there was a big rally at the Capitol. Mr. President, many of us in this body have participated in protests and rallies. I'm not alone. We cannot control, as legislators, what occurs at that event. It would be no different than going to a concert in which someone was injured and say that everyone there was responsible. Mr. President, whenever I attended the events that occurred on Wednesday, January the 6th, I want to point out a couple of different things. Number one, there were a number of rallies that occurred that day, not just the one at the Capitol. There was one in the morning at 10 a.m., which is the one in which I spoke. Not one word was mentioned about storming the Capitol. Every last word was about in protecting the integrity of every vote. We then would walk over from the Capitol over to a separate location at 11 o'clock, where we were near the Washington Monument, a completely separate location from the Capitol. I got there late. Hundreds of thousands of people were gathered, and that's where I took a video surveillance of the crowds assembling, waiting to hear President Trump speak. And had Facebook not censored me, you could go to my Senator Amanda Chase Facebook page and see the hundreds of thousands of people I call patriots standing there peacefully, waiting to hear the president speak. These people love their country, Mr. President, just like I do. They love freedom. They love the Constitution. And they were there one last time to peacefully assemble, as the First Amendment guarantees, that is the way that we as the people are supposed to express our grievances to our government. I left before the president finished speaking, quite honestly, so I wouldn't get crushed by the masses as they were exiting. As we were leaving to go back to our vehicle and back to the hotel, there was a man with a megaphone that entered the street and started yelling, "F Trump, F Trump." The police on bicycles, there were probably about 12 of them, broke right in front of us on the street and interrupted our departure from the event. We didn't know what was going on, Mr. President, but we knew it wasn't good. We actually picked up and actually started running to the car because we weren't sure what was happening. My whole goal was to assemble peacefully and to express peacefully that I objected to the election results, which is my right under the First Amendment. Does not mean I'm calling for an insurrection, and you can see from my results, I have not come in here storming the Senate of Virginia in any type of insurrection-type behavior. That's ludicrous. Mr. President, when I got back to the hotel room and saw what was happening before my eyes on the TV screen, I was horrified, completely horrified. We didn't know exactly what was happening, but we knew that it wasn't good. And my security team correctly made the decision that it was time for me to leave. Minutes later, the mayor would announce a curfew that would go into effect from 6 p.m. until 7 a.m. the next morning. I was leaving the Capitol when all this was unraveling, and I was not there. Mr. President, none of us at that moment knew the tragic, horrific incidences that were taking place, either in the three videos that I did earlier in the day when things were peaceful, things were fine. My references were all to the peaceful protesters, not these other groups that invaded our Capitol that day. I've openly condemned the actions of those who have done that. And I will say it again today that I condemn violence that occurred at the Capitol. And I'll tell you what doesn't help is when we have reporters like Michael Pope from WVTF, who after numerous discussions with him till 10 o'clock at night, in which I said, I never called the people who stormed the Capitol patriots. He wasn't there, but he insisted on promoting that narrative. And I will tell you, we have to hold our media accountable. They are many of them, not all, but there are some reporters that are giving all of our reporters a bad name. Not all. So, Mr. President, I would like to let the body know that I protect every last one of your going forward, if you decide to participate in a rally or a protest and something happens, as it happened to the senator from Portsmouth, I didn't file a censure for you. And I'd ask you not do the same for me. We should be able to exercise our First Amendment right to speak, but with that I will also say there is a responsibility, because words do matter. And if I have offended any of you in this room, because I am very passionate about the Constitution, I apologize. I think something that would be helpful to me as a legislator is to have everyone's cell phone numbers on this floor, so that when we have conflict that arises, that we can talk to each other directly instead of in a public forum. I'm thankful for the conversations that I've had with the patron of this bill, where we were able to sit down and have good discourse and clarification of comments, which I wish we had been able to do a long time ago. No one in this room is perfect, not even myself. We've all said things in the heat and the passion of moment that we have all regretted. And the last time I checked, there was only one person that walked the face of this earth that was perfect. And that person is not me. So I wish you guys the best weekend ever. I really would like to focus on the business that's set before this body. I'm honestly kind of tired of all the press phone calls, believe it or not. I know y'all are shocked. But I would like to focus on the business of the people. And for me personally, I would like to put this behind us and move forward in a constructive, positive manner, in which we are focused on the work of the people and not that of each other. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose does the Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suterline, rise?
Mr. President, for a point of personal privilege.
Senator, it's the floor.
So, again, I rise not expecting to earlier in the day. I woke up this morning thinking that I might make a very brief point of personal privilege today. That'd be very brief because I want to get home and see my family, especially my baby girl, Elle Louise Suterline, and just wish our President Pro Tem, Senator Elle Louise Lucas, a happy birthday. And that's all I thought I might say today on the floor. And I never thought I would stand up and defend someone from public radio. Did not think I would do that. But just speaking very briefly, because I observed, I think that we've got to be careful when we use members of the public, or even the press, who actually have platforms in which they can speak from, when we speak from this floor and what we suggest that they said or did. And before the Facebook pages were shut down, and I don't intend to speak to my thoughts on that because that would be a longer dissertation, but I would just point out that the senior senator from Chesterfield, in a post on Facebook, similar to her remarks made on this floor last week, said, quote, Ashley Babbitt, and this is when it's really important, I'm quoting, these are not things that I would say and I disagree. Quote, Ashley Babbitt, say her name, a veteran who was brutally murdered by Capitol Police today. Words matter. We talk about our state police and our Capitol Police. We don't have the intimate relationship with the Capitol Police in Washington like we do with our folks here, but I really appreciate what they do protecting our nation's capital. And when you say that they brutally murdered someone, that's something that requires a lot of reflection. And then further identify in the exact same post that these were not rioters and looters, these were patriots who love their country and do not want to see our great republic turn into a socialist country. Well, I certainly don't want us to turn to a socialist country, and I know a lot of people assembled there did. But that's not what the statement that was made on the floor last week, or what the statement that was posted on the internet said. And I think it's unfair to malign the member of the press who simply quoted it. And so, again this week, I rise on the floor completely surprised to see where I am now defending a member of public radio simply stating what was previously stated. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
A very, very, very brief point of personal privilege and correction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everybody knows my love for Lionel Spruill, but he got some bad information the other day. When he talked about Chesapeake Public Schools not live streaming the inauguration, he ascribed that blame to the school board. Well, as most of you know, my chief of staff, Christy, is a member of the Chesapeake School Board. They were never consulted. That was only done by school administration. So I just wanted to set that record clear so if you go by Christy, you don't throw rocks at her or something, okay? All right, thank you.
For what purpose is the senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell, rise?
Point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, over the last year, I got hooked on Ancestry.com. I've been sort of poking around, trying to figure out where I came from. And it was interesting. I found out that one of my great-grandfathers, about 13 generations ago, I think was a former governor of Virginia, one of the first governors here in the early 1600s. And but on my father's side of the family, my father's family came from Eastern Europe. They're Jews from Eastern Europe, and it only goes but so far back. And my grandfather Sam, he came over to the United States. I found out on February the 5th, 1912, on a ship called the Kursk from Libau, which is a port in Lithuania. He came over when he was, I think, 10 months old, with his mother. My grandfather my great-grandfather had already gotten over here. He was a night watchman at construction projects in Manhattan. And shortly after that, my other great-grandparents, the Sturfelds, later became Starfields, came over. A couple years later, my grandmother was born. My grandparents met, moved to Fairfax County, probably the only Jews in Fairfax in 1936. But in any event, they came down to Fairfax. And, the reason that they fled what was then Belarus, and they fled Russia and Poland, was because of the things that were going on in that country. And those things got worse and worse and worse, and we all know eventually where all that led. And my great-uncle, Martin, he went back over, I don't know, probably I heard in the 1950s, to try to find some of our family members from Bialystok, where my grandmother's family was originally from, and they couldn't find anybody because they'd basically all been wiped out. And when you think about how all that happened, I've heard some people analogize what happened a couple weeks ago to Kristallnacht, which is the night of the broken glass, I think it was 39. And at the time, a lot of people didn't think it was a big deal when it was going on. There wasn't a lot of condemnation. It was sort of looked. I think a lot of people looked aside, got used to it. And so, for a lot of us, when we see people protect, when we see people defend, when we see people condone individuals who openly wear anti-Semitic slogans on their chest, people who openly advocate or laud what happened during World War II in Europe. It brings back memories of Kristallnacht and what happened back then. And it reminds at least some of us in this room that you cannot stand silent when those kinds of things happen. And when somebody applauds them, it carries a lot of meaning for a lot of people. Ashley Babbitt, I'm not going to say her name. It's sad that she got a bullet put in her. That woman was coming through a window, which right on the other side of it were multiple congressmen. They probably should have put 5 bullets in her. I mean, folks, what happened in that U.S. Capitol was disgusting. It was un-American. It was traitorous. And I still haven't heard a condemnation of it or the people who were inside. I still haven't heard a condemnation of the things they were wearing. And so, Mr. President, I would just say that, yeah, words do matter, and we need to be really careful about what we say in public, on social media, in the heat of the moment, in this chamber, everywhere. We are elected officials, and people out there look to us to lead them, and they look at us. The things we say validate and make them think the things they say are okay. And I would just think that, everything that's been going on for the last 4 years has just reinforced that even more for me. And I really hope that as we work this out over the next couple months, we can all be a lot more careful about what we say.
For what purpose does the junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi, rise?
Point of personal privilege, Mr. President.
Senator, it's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I know that there often exists a tension between members of the press and our body, elected officials throughout this country. This tension is normal. This tension is to be expected. But if you're going to profess that you believe in the sacred quality of the Constitution, then I ask you to remember, I ask all members to remember that one of the most sacred elements of our Constitution is the acknowledgement of the freedom of the press. It's the responsibility of the press to hold elected officials responsible for their words and their actions. Our free press is to be valued. It is not to be called out. It is certainly not to be demeaned. And I would just ask our members to refrain from targeting individual members of the press who are practicing the craft and doing what they are responsible for doing. They are speaking and showing the truth. That is their job, that is their responsibility, and to attack them by name on the floor of the Senate, I think is uncalled for. Thank you, Mr. President.
Do any other senators wish to be recognized?
Didn't she file that vote? She said she did not. I know.
Tried to file.
No, I know, but she was over her limit. She said she didn't file it.
She filed it. Okay.
Am I asking? You want one? Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw.
I'd inquire, is there anyone with bills left to be filed? Anyone? All right, I think it's 3 p.m. 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
That's 3 p.m.
That is 3 p.m.
That's 3 p.m.
And it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I've got kind of an unusual request at this point for a caucus. If we could recess for a caucus meeting.
Okay. How long would you like to recess, Senator?
Hold on. Senator Locke, would you? Where's Senator Locke here? Yeah.
Question is how long you'd like to recess. Senator Saslow's called for a recess. Minutes. Okay. Senator, we heard 30 minutes. That
30 minutes. That we stand in recess until 2 o'clock. Okay.
2 o'clock. Okay. All right. Without objection, the Senate will stand in recess until 2 p.m. change their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 27, noes 0. The Senate does